Hello and welcome to your July 2023 Bank of Canada Rate Watch video, where I do a deep dive analysis into this morning's Bank of Canada decision. Let's dive right in. Unlike last month, there were no surprises with this morning's announcement. The Bank of Canada opted to increase the overnight lending rate by 0.25%, which widely met expectations as there was an accumulation of data that supported this decision. Although headline inflation is trending in the right direction, last month it was down to 3.4%. The bank expects that it will take a very long time to get that number down to its target range of 2%. And that is because the Canadian economy is proving to be much more resilient than anticipated. We have strong growth in jobs, so high demand for jobs. The consumer remains very resilient, spending money, creating excess demand in the economy and for consumer goods. And the fight against inflation isn't quite where the bank wants it because core inflation, which is their preferred measure, remains quite elevated and unchanging over the last few months. After today's decision, where do we expect the Bank of Canada to go from here into the coming months? As you can see here from this chart, economists widely expect that the Bank of Canada will not increase further beyond the 5% threshold that we currently sit at, and that we will start to see cuts to interest rates into May of 2024. So it's a fool's errand to predict interest rates as we've learned over the last 18 months. Just think to the beginning of this year when the Bank of Canada announced a temporary or conditional pause on interest rate increases. We thought we were there. Interest rates were starting to trend back down, and then boom, in May, they shot back up again. So it's very difficult to predict. I'm not going to suggest that this is it, but there are a number of factors that are supporting the idea that this was the last interest rate increase. And we'll have to stay tuned and pay attention to the data that comes out. For example, this morning, not here in Canada, but in the US, CPI numbers were released, beating expectations on inflation, which will drive the narrative on interest rates towards the downside as opposed to the upside, which we are all hoping and waiting for. If you have any questions about how today's decision impacts your mortgage and how to position yourself in this challenging environment, I'm just a phone call or an email away. Until next time, bye for now.